Welcome. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to put out this small disclaimer before the beginning of this video that this video in no way, shape, or form is intending to discredit the fact that Mrs. Vanzant was able to escape this abusive relationship that she had admitted to returning back to on more than one occasion. This video is only intended for critique and educational purposes and to make an overall or to make an umbrella main point, which you will find at the very end of the video. To give a brief summary, I will highlight what I feel was the positives in her story and what I feel one should consider when trying to escape an abusive relationship and what we can also learn from her story. With that being said, let's begin.
It was 18 inches of snow on the ground, and my husband came in, hadn't been home in days and days, and came in I was cooking fish, and he proceeded to attack me in the kitchen. And I had it. I'm done with you in this. He was 6'4", 260, and I'm like, what, 5'5"? Maybe I was 130 pounds back then. And when I saw him coming at me in the kitchen, tiny little kitchen, I said, I'm done. And I picked up the hot pan with fish and fish grease and threw it at him. And it went all over his coat. And he was furious, but he couldn't get to me because the grease was on the floor. So he was sliding the grease. And that's how I was able to scoot around him and get out of the house.
At this point, Iyanla had described
in my nightgown.
She threw the pan of grease at her abuser. The dangerous part up to that was the grease could have accidentally spilled over or hit her children that may have also been in the home. And when she was running around him or scooting around him while he was unable to get up or slipping around in the grease, she could have also injured herself because she could have slipped in the grease as well. But fortunately, she was able to get away. And then once she got away and outside, she exposed herself to other predatory entities that may have been lurking around outside the building at night. She also stated that it was cold, so she exposed herself also to suffering from hypothermia, or perhaps even, freezing to death. And she ran, but her children were left with the abuser or with the predator upstairs. Now he's enraged with what happened, her throwing the grease at him. So her kids may have also, at that point, been in danger because, once an abuser is out of control and enraged, anything can happen. They're not thinking reasonably. One of the kids could have gotten away, got attacked, or got hurt because they were left upstairs or they were left in the building with the abuser, if they were there.
And another time, when I finally left him, and I always tell a story about coming down here with my 3 kids and 4 bags, one for each of the kids and one for me, and walking down there and round the corner to the train station with no money. I didn't have a dime in my pocket. And a man came down the stairs and gave me a token and a cigarette. That's what I asked him for. And about a week after, I came back here and I changed the lock on the door while my husband was at work. I called him to find out he was at work. And I went to a hardware store. There was a hardware store up on the next block. And the man taught me how to take the tumbler out the door and change it. Couldn't change the bottom lock because that was the New York City Housing Authority lock. But the top lock was your private lock. So I came home and with my screwdriver.
Personally, I feel that that was a very smart decision. The fact that, she came back, that's the place she knew.
My kids from the daycare
that's the
center
place where she would have been safe at the time, knowing that her abuser was not around, was not at home or in the building. She went, grabbed her kids quickly, and she changed the locks. That was very quick thinking and may have very well saved her life to this day. Let's continue.
He came back. He didn't come that day. I think he came the next day. Stuck his key in the door, couldn't get in because I had changed the lock. He did that for a while. So finally, I put the chain on the door. What he did was, I laid on the floor by the door so I could hear him coming up the stairs. And he came up the stairs, and what he did was he put the key in and pushed the door. And the only thing between me and him was the chain. Don't ask me how he got that top lock open. I cannot tell you. But I had the chain on. And he started kicking the door. I went in the kitchen and I got a knife. And through the chain, I'm just hacking. Because I knew if he got in that house, it was going to be my life or his life. And I caught him right in the chest. I heard him screaming. I think my neighbor called the police. And when the police came, they came up the stairs and there was a glass partition right outside the door. It was all full of blood. So I opened the door and I said, "Oh my goodness." And they said, "What happened out here?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "My ex-husband was out here. He must have, and he must have cut himself on the glass." He said, "Well, are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I'm fine." He said, "Well, if he comes back or if you have any problem." I never said that I had stabbed him. I guess I shouldn't laugh about stabbing somebody, should I? Listen, it was his life or mine.
Here's another brilliant move by Iyanla. She described how she laid on the floor near the door so that she can hear her abuser coming up the stairs at night. She was being very cautious, and she knew that her abuser would be back with rage. He figured out a way to bypass the bottom and the top lock, and using her brains, she made sure that the door latch was securely attached. And she had just enough time to grab a weapon of defense and protect herself and her children who were behind that door. And imagine how scary it must have been to have this enraged being trying to kick your door in, trying to kick your door down, and also just being able to figure out, how to unlock both of the locks after she had changed the locks. So you could just never be too sure. You can never be too safe. It's always great to have plan C, plan D, all the plans possible to stay safe, stay secure, and live to see another day, another month, another year. You need to have a plan of action. You need to, set it up in a way where before the next rage attack or episode, or before the end of another abusive cycle, you have a plan. You don't have to return, or if you do return, you're very secure. You don't have to rush anything. Perhaps you have a trusted friend or family member that's there with you. You have your finances in order. The perpetrator is either detained by the police or in some way, shape, or form unable to be in contact with you, be in contact with your children if you have children, be able to damage, let's say you have a vehicle, or be able to wait on you or prey on you or hoover you, because there are many abused victims who still don't escape because you have to go back to work, you have to take your kids to school or daycare, and you have to sustain yourself. That means you will have to leave your house eventually. These psychotic abusers, narcissists, sociopaths, they are patient and they will wait. So she was still in danger even after all of that. Now, the fact that she stabbed him, perhaps, that was enough for him to leave her alone. Or perhaps, he was arrested. But the main point of this video is to have a plan of action before it gets to this extent, before it gets this far, before it gets out of control, where you have to be impulsive, where you have to react and just survive only on, the skin of your teeth or hope. If you have a plan, it's much safer, it's much easier for you and those who depend on you. For resources regarding how to make a safety plan, you can go to my website, and on the home page, just scroll down, you will find resources on the best ways to do that. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.